Sunday morning here. Off to a bit of a late start, unfortunately. It seems sometimes even the best of us oversleep their alarms. But so be it. We're going to get some painting done this morning. All right, see where we left off here. And we were painting the lance of this fellow in particular. And we didn't know what we were going to do with the lance at that point. So I think I was working on it and I kind of stopped. So let's pick that up where we left off. If we go, before we go any further, I'm going to paint this little tip here. Give him a metal tip here on the lance. All right, and back to what we were doing here with the gray. Yeah, well, all the days that I wanted to wake up early, today would have been the one because I've got to go to sleep early tonight. Got to be at work a lot earlier than I normally am. So, oh well. Didn't get a chance to do any more painting yesterday. Then the morning session. Did some stuff around the house here, including cutting up a bunch of boxes, which is why I'm wounded from yesterday, but it's actually not from a cut. It's from a paper cut from the edge of one of the boxes. We had all kinds of boxes of cardboard left over from Christmas, so cut those up, put them in the recycle bin type thing. And yeah, I got one of those cuts that doesn't hurt but bled like a sieve. So we're all better now. But even without the lockdown here, I never went anywhere. I stayed home all day. So even if we did a lockdown, it wouldn't affect me that much. After a week at work, I don't really want to go out and do anything anyways. I'm just kind of tired on recovery. I did stuff around the house here. And I'm going to stop short of doing this all in white We're just going to leave this kind of a light gray. I'm not sure if this is going to be the end color right now, but that's where we're going to stop here. Okay. We're going to leave this just about right here. And we'll just have to remember we got to put socks and paint the horse and stuff, tail on there. I don't want to get into that. I'm not sure if that's how we're going to leave this guy with the lance. So let's move him off to the side. Bannerman. Eccentric man. Aren't we all? Ken logging in while I'm tidying my hobby area. You got to do that. I get that. I'm glad to see somebody else appreciates that other than me. I've seen many hobby areas and I'm like, how do people think? And it's not that I'm a neat freak, but I just don't want to be distracted. I want to stay on task. You have War of the Roses infantry on my paint desk today. Okay, you going to paint both sides or just one side? Or I really haven't. I really have not gotten into that period because if I was going to build opposing armies, at least in DBA, they're basically the same army. You don't get it. You don't get a lot of choice for fluctuations now. That may not be the case if you're playing another game, but that's kind of why I haven't gotten into it. And they have I bet the book by, is it Dan Jones is probably really good because I really like his work. So, and that's an extremely conflicted, complicated period, which I wouldn't mind learning more about. It just the gaming part from a DBA aspect doesn't seem it doesn't seem exciting from a standpoint of a War of the Roses army fighting another War of the Roses army. Now, the War of the Roses army in itself is kind of a 100 Years War army on steroids. So I don't mind it at all. And I like that period. It's kind of the same period that I'm doing here. But yeah, the DBA army list just doesn't make it very exciting to play. But it's this rule set. I play it because it's some simplicity and you can get a lot of games done. I'm sure there's better game systems for that. One side the Yorkist as my friend is doing the Lancastrians. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's paint some. Let's paint this guy's horse, and we're gonna do. Let's do a light colored horse for this guy. So there's quite a few dark things on here. So let's go do a horse that's maybe a base color like this buff. It's a very complex period with many swapping sides over the years. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'd be tempted if that's what I wanted to learn about it. I'd get into that Dan Jones book. I know there's one on the Plantagenets is awesome. I do a lot of stuff on Audible. Unfortunately, the guy that did the speaking is. I wish they would have gotten a better guy. That's the one thing about the audiobooks is the book might be great, but if they get a guy that's not so or doesn't really isn't somebody that appeals to you in their speaking style, you're kind of up a creek. But you know, you did get a chance to do a sample there, and that's a great book. That's a great book. The best book still, and I've done probably, I'm going to say 50 books on Audible. I could be wrong. It's not more than 50, but I've done 50, and the best one is still this book by, his name is O'Connell, I believe, or O'Donnell, and it's a book called Ghosts of Kenai. And Ghosts of Kenai is the person who narrates it is awesome. He doesn't pronounce. I mean, everybody ends up mispronouncing something, but it's not really bad. He rarely mispronounces anything, and he has good enthusiasm and meter and everything. I highly recommend that book. When people say, "Hey, what book should I get for from Audible?" I always recommend Ghosts of Kenai because it's not just about the Battle of Kenai. It leads up to it. Of course, it ends up going into the battle and then afterwards, and it's just it's pretty it's pretty exciting reading the way that's best put together. That's a great one. But yeah, it's the narration. I've had other narrators that I had one guy that was narrated by an American, and it was on the Conquistadors. I forget exactly what it's called. It might have even been called Conquistador, and he mispronounced just about everything, and that was annoying. And you never know what you're going to get. But unfortunately, it seems like there's more. Let's not call them bad narrators. Let's call them narrators that I don't jive with, or I don't get on like. So, but with that said, it's a way for me to get through books because I'm not going to sit here and write a book as when I could be painting. I'm just not going to do it. Did I say write a book? I'm definitely not going to write a book. I'm not going to read a book while I'm painting instead of painting. So, and I would prefer to do this painting video when I'm painting than sit there and listen to one of those books. I just use those for, when I'm traveling or something like that to and from work. So I highly recommend them, but sometimes it's kind of hit or miss. Okay. Let's get this color down here. And then this is an armored dude as well. But he's wearing, this is, speaking of War of the Roses, this guy's a miniature from Peter Pig's line of War of the Roses. I like Peter Pig figures. They're a little on the small side. They don't have a huge amount of ranges that they do. At least not for ancients, medievals, that kind of stuff. But the ones they do, I definitely like their style. Then they paint up well, and they don't come in huge packs. And they have pose variety. They don't have a huge pose variety, but you're buying packs of like 8 figures, I think, instead of 50 guys with the same pose, which is okay if you're doing Romans, but these feudal types, they all have to be a little bit more individualistic. You know, I keep hearing like this vibration, and I don't have good hearing, but I can hear lows like forever away. I guess because I'm talking kind of soft because the whole crew's asleep, but I keep hearing like this vibration, and I'm wondering if it's something that's on my table. It's kicking back. I don't know what it is. It's very, very low. But I don't have the fan on or anything, and walked into my painting room this morning and it was cold. And the air conditioning hasn't been on perfect. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day when it's cold. You don't have to run the air conditioner in Florida. Let's see. More here. I probably started too light. I tend to paint with hardly any paint on the brush because I'm going to go over the spot so many times. And I just kind of developed that way. I started doing this style so long ago in the mid 90s. I don't remember what prompted it. But yeah, I like audiobooks. Lectures. There's a lecturer in particular. I don't remember what his name is right now. I've listened to several of his lectures. He's pretty good. Lots of good stuff on there. And then a couple of narrators, one in particular I've blacklisted. I won't list anything else from him. And unfortunately, he's prolific in all these ancient things, but I got this one book by that was the let me see, what is it called? It's a book on Josephus, who was he was a Jewish historian that he did this history from say after the Maccabee period up until the Roman conquest of Judea. And it's a really interesting story, and it's very convoluted, probably even more than the War of the Roses. So you really got to pay attention. And it was just a bad combination between a really complicated story and his style of mispronunciation. And it's one thing to mispronounce words that are strange, that you don't see very often, that you don't hear very often, and it's another thing to mispronounce things that are pretty standard. It's just very distracting. So, yeah, after that, I'm like, I'm not listening to any more of this guy's books. And unfortunately, he's prolific in his narration. But, and he's got this weird pompous accent. So I figured, well, what part of, sorry for you folks in England, but I'm going to jump into I wonder what part of England this guy's from. He's not English at all. He's got some made up accent to make himself look sound more important. I don't know. Anyways, he's been blacklisted in my listening choices. you know, yeah, there's different accents in every single country. Just like I don't have the same accent as somebody from several large cities from the north, thank goodness. And some English accents are much easier to listen to understand than others. I should do that in my travels or when I find things. I should make a list of people from the UK that are very easy to understand. And not being from there, I don't understand. I can't pick up the regional accents that you guys probably can while you're over there. I mean, I could if I lived there, but you know. Before Christmas, I painted up a Gallic and Camillan Roman DV armies using the Essex Ray 15 millimeter. Okay, excellent. Yeah, that's back when they fought each other. Well, when the Gauls came into Italy and were on the offense. Yeah, good stuff. I do wish that Audible offered a family option. You can share credits. I did that on a road trip that we recently took. My daughter had to do a book for school, and she had to have it done reading over the Christmas break. And she found out that it was on Audible, so I gifted her one of my credits, and she listened to the book on the way home. Unfortunately, it's a school assignment, so they always are terrible. It's not something you'd read on your own. As I like to say, to say that you don't like books is not true. Everybody's going to like some kind of book, some kind of information. Even knuckleheads that all they do is watch sports, they might enjoy a sports book. Knuckleheads, I mean people that do sports and only sports. You know who I'm talking about. I live in a college football town, so this town's full of knuckleheads. I have to interact with people all over the world to find people that I have in common with, not these locals. But hey, I'm used to. This is an old casting. This horse is a really cool looking horse, but he's been around the block a few times. This is an old minifigs castings, I believe from their 100 Years' War range. It's hard enough for a UK born person to understand some of the accents. You only have to travel 50 miles and the accent changes. Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. All right, I don't know what that is. Let's pull this up from the wall and see if that's. What is causing that vibration? It's like a. I heard one of those a while ago, and I found that it was an owl. It was making strange sounds like that. Now, I live in a suburban community. I like to say that I live in a city, and I do, but it's not what most people think of. This is suburbia. So, but there is wildlife out here. Yeah, I've never seen that owl. That's sneaky Booker. But I'd like to. I like birds of prey. They're cool. Until you're on their feast list, birds of prey are pretty neat. I kind of have a soft spot for them, considering I've got a bird of prey on my family crest. Maybe if I You know, had like somebody blowing a horn bent over or something like that. I wouldn't like them so much, but I always use that as an example, and that's from what Monty Python on the Holy Grail, one of the cut scenes where they're blowing horns out of their ass. That's like silliest heraldic devices. That'd be an interesting search. I need to do one of those. People that have crest of arms that are just, they got to pick last, let's put it that way. When they were handing out crests, I make fun of Mitch when I looked up his crest one time. It's like a potted plant. I'm like, see, you guys were, your ancestors were growers, not distillers. Silly heraldic. One of the things I looked up when I was doing these nights is this old codex that had examples of some of these 15th century knights, and one of them actually had like the head of a rooster. It was kind of cool, but it's still a rooster. Who's that fellow with a big cock? Good stuff, man. That's why I was never really into fantasy. There's so many things that are so interesting that really happened, or at least we think they really happened. That there's why make things up? Why make things up? Why do Game of Thrones when you could be doing War of the Roses or the Diadochi, Alexander's successors? There's so many plots out there that are just incredibly interesting. So I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but several people had mentioned to me about this series that just came out, I want to say last month, called On El Cid. And I was skeptical. I watched 2 episodes yesterday, and then while I was waiting for my daughter to do her swim practice, not much I can do while I'm waiting in the car. So I decided to watch a couple episodes of that. And there's you can find out why it's called feudal Spanish. Like, holy crap, it's complicated. Like, this guy doesn't like him, and this guy murdered his other guy's brother. But when he took over, it's just really, really complicated. And of course, I watch everything with subtitles, anyways. But it's still complicated trying to. Okay, like, all right, we're gonna watch a medieval movie. All right, let's get our sketch pad here and find out who doesn't like who and who's related to the other person in a flow chart. And you know, it starts confusing, but as the episode goes on, you start finding out who's on what side a little bit more. It's okay. It's all right. It's worth watching. Um, so far, so that's a Amazon series for those of you that might be interested in that. And in Spanish, and I prefer if you're going to have a foreign movie, just play it in the language that it's meant to be in and put subtitles on. That's my preference. Minifigs have been going on for decades. When we had a hobby store and I first started wargaming, that was in the mid 80s. That was kind of the go-to. Everybody had those. That was kind of the thing. So, got my first ones in D4. There you go. We saw 2 parakeets on our walk yesterday. Escaped ones over the years have been colonizing out from London. I live about 30 miles north of the capital. Okay, that's 30 miles is nothing here. 30 miles might be a little bit farther where you're at, but 30 miles is yeah, it's nothing. Okay. There's some weird and wonderful heraldry. There is. There is. You're like, Umberto Eco's Name of the Rose. Okay. That sounds like a series I've heard of. I saw a YouTube video a couple years ago about somebody that was an amateur comedian or something like that, and they did 12 English accents in 12 minutes or 30 seconds or something like that. And yeah, I recognize them when I hear them, but I don't really put two and two together. I'm only exposed to them. It's not like I meet people on the street. So, and yeah, some are definitely easier to understand than others. Standard English, not Shakespearean, which is, you know, you can understand, but sometimes I don't know what the hell they're meaning. I don't, not a fan of that type of stuff. The only Shakespeare I enjoyed is in college. We did a class that was, I think it was on Macbeth, and we kind of discussed it at length and in round robin. And it was interesting that way because we all were kind of lost at times and had to muddle through things. And okay, I think we're going to leave this guy kind of where he's at. Now this guy's got some, he's got some metal. So let's go ahead and paint the metal on him. And yeah, we have our bad regional accents here as well. We went to Tennessee, and as I like to say, we went north to travel south. And I've lived in what you'd call the South my whole life, and there are some people that are like, "Holy cow, this guy's really difficult to understand." My wife says I morph, so if there's some places where I'm forbidden to go to, I'm on the no-fly list because I can't come back with that accent, like Boston. I'm not allowed to go to Boston. Yeah, I tend to morph. I get around people for a while. The next thing I need, I use the same things that they say and so forth. And Mighty Morpher, she calls me. Distance is a strange concept for us. Traveling an hour is a long way. Yeah, you know what's a bad concept for me? Sitting in traffic for an hour. There's people that like live in really big places, like say Los Angeles or something like that. There's no way I would put up with spending that much time in traffic. There's just no way. I'd go nuts. And yet people do it all the time. Here, there's quite a few people that will travel an hour for work. And I don't mean just sitting in traffic, like they like work an hour away. I couldn't imagine doing that either. My commute is it's about 10 miles the way the crow flies, but it's about 16 to 17 miles. But it takes 20 minutes to get there. It's not bad. But yeah, an hour isn't far. Well, the other concept that's different is how much in fuel do you have to pay to go that hour? Okay. It's significantly more expensive for you guys. And if you had to drive an hour, just think you'd have to spend 1 hour behind the wheel driving in the wrong lane. That's my one jab against people in the UK is the side of the road they drive on. I can deal with everything else, metric system, everything else is cool. I could even, I might even be able to deal with the taxes, but that driving on the other side, wow, that's just a game changer. That's just a game changer for me. I just can't imagine. The home counties in the UK is not far for you then. 14 miles sometimes took an hour. The home counties in yeah. I guess all that traveling, if you're not traveling, if you're using public transportation, not so bad. You know, you could be catching up on shows and stuff like that while that's going on. You know, I don't think I'll be able to get a chance to see that anytime soon, though. Because, this new world we live in, who knows what travel's going to be like, but that's okay. We got YouTube, we can communicate across the vast oceans by methods such as this, and that's really nice, actually. That's really, really nice. Okay, this guy's got some chainmail back here. A really complicated figure. You've got some figures that sometimes lack detail. You've got to create some of it. I always like to say Essex is one of those. There's nothing wrong with Essex figures, but sometimes they're kind of minimalist. Like, they don't have any patterns that you need to draw on their clothes. You kind of have to make that up on your own as you go. And these Peter Pig guys are the opposite. There's all kinds of stuff you have to paint on them, whether you wanted to see that have that on a figure or not. So, yeah, they all have their different styles. And I gladly mix and match all of them, just about all of them. Let's see. Fuel at the moment, $1.16 a liter, or roughly 522. Holy shit. That's insane. So you're telling me you guys are paying about $7 US for a gallon. Wow. And you guys have half your money taken from you to start. Hope you guys have good retirement plans there. I'm sure you get used to it, you know. Wow. And your big wargaming convention's only one day. Well, that's kind of a thing of the past now. Who knows when there'll be another one of those. Salute, right? Salute's your big one. That's a 1 day event. Of course, every cool toy's there because we know all the toys come from the UK, or at least anything I want to paint comes from the UK. You guys have that in your backyard. I'm sure there's somebody I'm sure there's somebody in the UK that loves building stuff for GHQ and is pissed off how much it costs them. Meanwhile, I'm not really interested in any of that. Not anymore, anyways. Okay, so we're gonna have to put some kind of a cloth or something on this guy. I'm thinking red. I think that's probably what I'm gonna do because none of the overcoat guys that I've done have red, and this guy's kind of fancy since he's on the commands. That's what we're gonna go with. We're gonna give him a red one, and we'll use a different shade of red just so we have a little bit of a little consistency difference. We'll use this one that's just called the standard red. Bermelon. I don't know what language that's supposed to be in. That's supposed to be Spanish. Bermelon. I don't know. I speak Spanish, but I don't know that word. But then I don't have an education in it. I just spoke it as at home growing up. So I can understand it, but there's lots of vocabulary words I do not use because I didn't go to school. Yep, $7 UK gallon looks like. Government income tax is 20%. Okay, that's all right. And VAT from 0 to 25%. No, that's not horrible. I say we should go back to that tax rate that we had when the U.S. was English colonies, right? People were complaining about such little taxes. Of course, there was no representation. Yeah, whatever. Let me keep my money and do whatever you want. They do it anyways. Get all the US people all fired up over that again. Hey, we weren't part of it. We were still in the old country, taking siestas. If you earn more than 65,000, income tax goes up to 40%. Well, see, that's where we have a problem. Oh man, it's all good. Yeah, so when we used to have our convention in Orlando, in particular when it was at the location was on International Drive, there was always a lot of people that traveled that were stayed at the hotel that were from the UK or the Commonwealth, and mostly from the UK. And I never understood how they could travel with all the taxes you guys have to pay. Now, the hotel we stayed at wasn't a very nice hotel, you know, but and it was just like family after family that would stay at this place. So I don't know. Maybe there's other loopholes, or I'm not sure. $7 a gallon. Wow, that's crazy. And I have a fuel efficient vehicle. I think I set it to when I got it. I lease vehicles, and I've averaged 30 miles to the gallon now. I think it's exactly at 30.00. I was running about 31, and then I did a few more extra errands. But yeah, those people that have vehicles that are really fuel inefficient, I don't know how they would pay their bills. I don't want to give that money away. That's just dumb to be inefficient like that. Okay, so we got a base color of red on this guy. Marcine, how are you? Normally a trip of a lifetime for most fans. That's what I thought, but it's like, wow. Well, I guess it's whatever you're used to. Like I said, you get the wargaming companies in your backyard. Most of the cost of fuel in the UK is due to tax. Well, most of the cost of alcohol is due to tax. Yeah, that's okay. What I don't get is they collect all this in taxes, and yet they still can't balance their budgets and hold and like I like to say, you give these people all this money, and then they can't run a checkbook. I think it would be just easier. It's like, okay, what's the national debt? How much do we each have to cough up per family? All right, let's all pay that and move on. A friend of mine would always say the thing about the national debt he never understood. He never understood how it worked. He never understood why we just keep going and more in debt, unless the plan is, and this is his words, we're just going to use it all to buy weapons. And then when they call and want us to pay them back, we'll tell them, come and get them. Come and get your money. I think he had a point. Good morning, Jeffrey. How are you doing out there in Scotland? I really hope I decide to do a Scottish Army next. I could have a lot of fun with those guys. You know I could. You guys would be on my case all the time about destroying their accents, but unlike most Americans, I'd like to do the accents correctly if I could. And I like to pronounce words correctly. I speak two languages, I get it. Okay, let's get a little bit more red and do on here. I'm spending way too much time doing this than I should, but this is relaxing. This is therapy, so I don't mind building up these things slowly. I could probably just be doing a series of washes and be done with this guy, but I'm enjoy doing this little fiddling. Okay, eccentric man, thanks for stopping by. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your half of your weekend, half of your Sunday. Hopefully, you don't have to work today. That's why I never got into American history. I'm like, I'm already American. There's no fun stuff to learn about here. It's all overseas. So, never got interested in American Civil War. I like to paint these figures from other places. You get to learn about the history, and especially now that there's so much available out there and more each day. New Zealand, where it's, or as I like to call it, Tomorrowland, right? It's tomorrow there. Now you guys are, yeah, right? It's Monday. Enjoy your work day. Unless you, good morning, Ian. Wow. All the English speakers, the Commonwealth is awake. I know Ian's not in the Commonwealth, but I told one of my buddies, I said, well, I got to be careful what I sound like. I don't want to piss off the people in the UK and the Commonwealth because that's all my viewers. You guys watch my videos, you know I make fun of everybody. So, you know, as I like to say, you don't get to pick where you're from and you don't get to pick who your mother is. So, we're all in it together. It's all good. The land of toys out there waking up. Yeah, it used to be before this pandemic, I would get better service, quicker service from UK figure companies than I would from anybody in the US. It's like almost like people just here were in a hurry to get things to you. Wargaming supplies, not necessarily something you would buy from a store, but just like wargaming supplies. Almost everybody to a T, you'd order something on a Monday, you'd get it the following Monday across the pond. But the last time I ordered something from the UK, it gets stuck at, it spends 4 or 5 days over at Heathrow. Well, somewhere in Heathrow, probably a sorting office or something like that. And yeah, that's kind of screwing the whole thing up. So hopefully we can get back to normal. Not that I need anything anytime soon, but you know, I was always surprised how good a service I got across the pond. So other places in Europe, not so much, but really made it seem like you guys were a lot closer than you really were because the mail order service really was exemplary. And the cost isn't higher. It's not really that more expensive to order from the UK as it is from somewhere else in the US because our costs for shipping things have just gone up astronomically in the last say 5 years. It's really expensive to ship things. That priority mail is just ridiculous, you know. So still working at 2 a.m. here. Wow, taking the rest of the day off. Well, there's no day left. Perhaps you'll get more hordes done. There you go. Hordes are good. Bring on the hordes. Can't have enough. What are you working on these days, Dirk? Army. I know you're a DBMM player, but what are you working on these days? Okay, that is an awesome choice. I've come close to doing them. I've got the figures to do them. But yeah, that's a great choice. I love the Indian armies. I really do. I just wish there were a little bit more troop variety. But yeah, I like the Indian. Yeah, that's a good one. Delhi Sultanate. I've even gotten so far to kind of figure out what kind of theme I would do with them. But I had figures for them. I had old Mike's Models figures. And they're quirky looking. They look okay. They paint up nice. I don't mind quirky figures. All right, let's get. This guy needs a scabbard. Yeah, Delhi Sultanate. There are a lot of cavalry, and some bow. Hordes, of course. A heffalump or two. I'm not one for building generic armies. Like I wouldn't be caught dead building a late medieval army that could morph into like four different things. Now, if we're making a video and we need a certain army, yeah, we'll make them. But I'm not specifically going to build an army that, well, here's my late medieval knights, and I can use them as Burgundians or War of the Roses English or feudal English, or I'm not going to be one of those guys. I don't mind morphing armies, but I'm not going to go in there with the intent of making them look kind of generic, because half of the fun would be for me is trying to get them to look the way I think a certain time period nationality looks like. That's the fun in it. So I've got French ordnance, and I've got late Germans and Hungarians, and they don't share any of the troop types when I build an army for them. So Delhi Sultanate, I wouldn't want, if I was going to build them, I wouldn't want guys that I could turn into moguls and that kind of stuff. I'd want ones that were specifically for them. So I'm always looking for little twists of how I can make these guys look more of a certain way. Now, we morph all kinds of stuff on videos because we'll need them for maybe a matchup or something like that, but I don't go with the intent of, okay, here's my army that I can change into a bunch of different things. Now, lots of people do that, and that's fine if it works for them. It just, for me as a figure painter, it doesn't really work, because then there's no incentive in me building different things. You end up painting a bunch of generic looking stuff. And the fun in it for me is to put little twists that tie them into maybe some of the colors that are typical, or that I think are typical of a period or a dynasty or something like that. So, but that's me. So that's what I said. I've already thought about how I possibly could do the Delhi Sultanate. But those horses and the Indian stuff, and that's some really pretty stuff. Really fun colors. I had a fun time painting that Rajput army, which is like the third or fourth army that I did. It's an Essex army pack, and of course they used the Mughal figures, so they're probably the wrong figures, but that's all they have. Indian armies of the later period that aren't Indian armies that are later than classical Indian are few and far between, people that make figures for them. So you kind of are limited on what you is available for them. Many of the companies are still working, but reduced capacity. I've seen some announcing changes to shipping to U.S. due to increased costs. Yeah, well, it is what it is. I don't think people are ripping people off on costs. I just think it costs them more money, so they got to pass it on. I get it. As I heard someone say a long time, companies do not pay taxes, consumers do. They pass it on to their consumers. Along with shipping cost, elephants, gillmen, steppe cavalry, Indian foot, a great mix. Yeah, absolutely. Half the fun is collecting and painting. Yeah, I'd say it's more than half the fun, at least for me. I enjoy that stuff. Plus, it's an excuse to eat Indian food, right? To get in the spirit of the army. I like Indian food. I was good games with my Rajputs. Ooh. And artillery. They can have artillery too. So that's always nice to be in a place where your historical enemies have elephants. But yeah, you get some artillery with you. That's always fun. For you, not for your opponents. There's so many armies out there I want to do, but it's not necessarily from the I want to play them. It's the I want to collect the figures, figure out how I'm going to paint them, and then actually paint them. That appeals to me. U.S. Postal Service ripped me off every month. $25 postage for a $19 order. Yeah, they're the worst. They are. Not necessarily on cost for me, just they're massively incompetent. The We have a Facebook group for our neighborhood. We live in a suburban neighborhood. It probably has, I'm gonna say 100 houses in it. I could be off, but it might end up being 70 or something, but it's a fair amount. It's a Facebook group on there, and they're always saying, hey, I'm looking for a package from addressed to so and so. Let me know if you got it or whatever, because they're always misdelivering things to different places. And used to be when you would order things and they would ship things on U.S. Postal Service, they wouldn't leave it at your door. They'd leave you a little note that said, I tried to deliver this at 2:20 p.m. and you weren't home. Well, no shit, I wasn't home. I'm out working, paying taxes so you can get paid. So the hierarchy in delivery systems, not cost, but in delivery systems, was used to be UPS was the best. They'd always leave it at your front door. And then FedEx. So FedEx doesn't deliver on Saturday and Sunday unless you pay extra, which basically means they don't deliver on Saturday and Sunday. And then both of those will leave it at your door. But U.S. Postal Service doesn't, so they were at the bottom. Well, in the last 5 years, or really in the last 2 years, probably, the one that's risen to the top of all those is Amazon. Amazon, I like the joke, they like to deliver it to you before you order it. You'll get an estimated shipping arrival date of like Thursday, and half the time it'll get delivered a day earlier than they say they're going to, which that's how you do stuff. So really, they're on the ball as far as delivery goes, as Amazon, at least here in the United States, or at least my experience with them. So If they want to take over the world, they can. They're at least doing it competently. Yeah, New Zealand, there's shipping's probably brutal for you guys. Did you just miss the discussion about artillery generals? No, Mitch is still asleep. That's Mitch's wet dream. Artillery generals and rutabagas. Even if there was artillery generals, he still wouldn't like artillery. I think there's just no hope for him. What else doesn't he like? Solid auxilia. He doesn't like solid auxilia. I like everything except when my battle plan victory relies on my warband actually being successful at something. Then I don't like them. But I don't even dislike warband. I just don't like them to. That's my heavy frontline troops. Like all my hopes of things going well resides on them. I'm like, I don't like that because they kind of suck. So everything has a purpose, though. Artillery generals. I can't believe I've put off doing a face this long. Let's do this. Let's do this guy's face. Do him in the face. Do him in the face. Get our usual suspects here. That's a Litco stand hitting the floor. I moved my table up against from the wall. I don't think that was a good idea. I moved it up like half an inch or something like that. What fell down? Okay. This is the old mix. For those of you guys that don't have this memorized, this is my red leather. And sunny skin tone. I'm doing such a tiny little area. It's kind of ridiculous. And of course, black and white. All right. I'll be right back. I need to get some more coffee. coffee. It makes things happen. But I don't really like the taste of coffee. As strange as that may sound. It's difficult to drink. I just drink it black over ice. I'd prefer English black tea. I love the taste of English black tea. It just doesn't have enough caffeine. You know, you can't get anything done. So, James II of Scotland died at the siege of Roxburgh Castle when an artillery piece he was next to blew up. Yes, surely he could count as an artillery general. A late artillery general. He has ceased to be. And the king standing next to an artillery piece that blows up. The guy running the artillery piece. What's this? What's the Scottish version of? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, there's a lot of histories that are really complicated. That's another one too. That whole Mary Queen of Scots and all that stuff is just really convoluted and stuff. If I was really going to get into that period, there's probably some YouTube videos I can watch to kind of get the basis for who's on what side and then just build from there, you know? Because all that stuff's not taught in history. Well, at least not here. I assume that somewhere as well. But yeah, that's the Scots Common list in DBA that runs into the 1500s. They're allowed to have an artillery piece, but it's because of him. It's artillery is really not available for them until very late in their game. But all right, so we need a saddlecloth. We need a saddlecloth that's going to pop a little bit. That means blue. Now, what blue do we have here? I think the blue I have here is that really limp colored. Yeah, we don't want to use that. We want to use something a little bit more vibrant. Okay, so let's grab something. What's this? Dark blue. Oh, how innovatively labeled this one is. This is the really lame grayish gray blue, which I don't really want for that. I want this guy a little bit more vibrant. He's the guy that gets to the distinction of riding with the banner, anyways, which I can't put on him yet. I'll have to make one of those. Or did I make it? Did I already paint it? I think I already painted it. I did. I did already paint it. By already painting, I mean I found an image online. I put it in my painting program, and I shaded it like I would with regular paints, but in the painting program. I just need to print it out. But yeah, it did turn out nice. All right, let's get some black in here. Why did I mix up the face colors and then I didn't do anything with it? Man, you guys need to start watching me. I know it's not your turn to watch me. All right, let's do the face. I was wondering why this was hanging out right here. This will only take a moment. I've already had too much caffeine, almost scatterbrain all over the place. So a couple of months ago, I was painting and I had gotten too much caffeine in me, and it didn't give me the jitters. What it did is it just made me, you know, like, oh, squirrel. You know, you'd constantly get pulled over by distractions. Brain would be going 1,000 miles an hour. This guy has a nice face to paint. Nice features. He's a repurposed War of the Roses figure. Show you what I got here. Focus, damn it. Yeah, just something kind of minimalist there. Makes them pop really nice. I love painting faces. Really easy, and I think they turn out well. Okay, now back to the saddlecloth. Back to the saddlecloth. Carthage must be destroyed. I agree. They murder their own children. Screw those guys. Good morning. As I like to say, all these civilizations, from our point of view, we're all evil folks. Really, really, you wouldn't want to be in any of them. But I definitely don't want to be a Carthaginian child. I saw some post on something else that it had to do with I want to say it was like a Roman marching camp or something like that. And somebody had made a comment that was like, Romans are like the children of Satan or something like that. And I'm like, come on. Yeah, the Romans sucked, but so did everybody else. And Romans might have been really bad at some things, but they were really good at some other stuff. They were really good at, coming from a World War II background, or World War II gaming background, which is basically, especially if you're doing something like the Eastern Front, that's kind of a war of annihilation. So a lot of the wars that I've studied or war game are really wars of annihilation. And the Romans really were very accepting of other civilizations. Even with the military and stuff, they're like, okay, well, we'll come over and you can join our army and we can go kick ass together. And, you can worship whoever the hell you want as long as you pay your taxes. And that's really accepting from the standpoint of a lot of other things that I've really been exposed to. So from my standpoint, I think they're pretty liberal. Would that be a correct use of that? Yeah, they're very accepting of other. Now they might want to conquer you, and they made all those deals where the deals were directly with Rome, so they could come in and I guess it'd be kind of like a monopoly, like they don't want anybody to compete with them. But once you're part of one of them, honestly, I think they weren't that bad compared to some other folks. Like Assyrians, that's who you really don't want to move over. That's who you don't want to move into your neighborhood. You're minding your own business, and next thing you know, an Assyrians come and move in next to you. There's going to be some problems. You better have some bronze weapons ready. I don't know. Okay. But I don't want to be part of any of them civilizations. They're all from horrible places to be from a standpoint nowadays. But I was actually pretty surprised the whole incorporation of other stuff in the Roman system. Thought that was pretty cool. That they weren't afraid to incorporate new ideas. Okay, I'm going to paint the front of this because this has got to be some kind of a leathery thing. We can't have this thing be all blue because that just wouldn't make any sense. What's a shame about the Roman stuff is a lot of this stuff is known about all these civilizations is because the Romans wrote about it and that's what survived. So you have a history about many peoples that are not Romans, but the Romans interacted with them. But there's nothing written from their own standpoint. And that's kind of unfortunate because, as you guys know, if you read everything written from one viewpoint, it's definitely going to be skewed and probably not the truth. So just to stay balanced, it would have been nice if some other stuff was written from other viewpoints. But I guess you could say it's probably a good thing that they wrote about it, or there wouldn't be anything available about them. So. And oh, this guy's got a little bit of a saddle thing back here going on. Oh, I almost missed that. It's the one thing that I say. If I end up missing something, it's not a big deal because I can reach anything that I miss. So. Good. Everybody's sleeping late today. Perfect. Hopefully we'll be able to get this guy done. Looking likely. And then we can do the big man himself. Matthias Hunyadi. And then we will probably do the bowman. We'll do some bowmen next. And then probably the war wagons. And then we'll circle back around and do the final knights. That's what I'm thinking. I have to change at any moment. 2 stanza bowman, I believe that's what it is. I have to look. And hopefully they're not fast and solid where I have a choice, because then I'm going to have to cogitate about it. How many blades does this army have? 1? There's only 1 guy that could provide a support, so. to look at the army list. I'm not going to build both, though. I'm not building fast bow and solid bow. Highlight a little bit here. He ended up with a whole stand of blind men once. Forgotten after I based him, I'd forgotten to put pupils on the eyes. Yeah, because you're doing 28s, yeah. I gotta do pupils on, I gotta paint the eyes on several figures because some guys decide to cast them on there. My preference in this scale is for them not to have eyes. But if they're cast on, sometimes they're cast on almost like in these bulges. And you kind of have to put eyes on them then. Kind of have to. Highlight that a little bit here. A little bit there. And then the back here. And a little bit more because that gets worn out a lot. Okay, let's do a little bit back here. We could have brought that blue up a little bit more. Why did I stop doing the blue? I think I'm just rambling on and distracting myself. It's okay. It's all good. Getting a lot more done than if I was just sitting here not filming anything. This is where we're at so far. Get this lighting to cooperate. All right, let's bring the blue up. Blue up. This little system with the contact lens case is really working out well. So I forgot who gave me that idea, but thank you. All reasonable suggestions will be looked at. I'm really never going to have to buy more of that stuff. It's expensive. It's like $20 for 200 milliliters. But it's just really strange. Like I mentioned yesterday, if this was water, as soon as I would drop one of these brushes with color on there, it would end up tinting this completely blue or whatever color I was using it. But whatever this is, it kind of sticks to itself and it doesn't, I don't know. And this is just, I'm just using it as re-wetting drops just to make sure that the paint's flowing okay. I really like using it. Okay. I think that's probably good. I've got some reins to put on here. Rein in the reins. figure out what color I want to do this mask. I think we're gonna go white on this. Let's let's do the tip of this one in bronze. No point in putting a whole lot of thought into it. If I don't like it, I'll just repaint it. It's really that simple. Let's get a bigger brush so a little bit more efficient. Let's go over here so I'm not reaching around the whole thing. I don't want to commit to doing I guess I could have done a brown color. But I'm good with this one, so it stands out a little bit more. Let's get in here. You missed the contact lens things. What do you use them for? So, somebody suggested, probably a couple months ago, I was using the top of an old Citadel thing here just to hold my liquid. And the liquid is airbrush thinner, which I've started using as re-wetting drops as I paint. I've been really happy with it. And somebody suggested I should get an old contact lens case. Well, I didn't have one at the time. And then I got a new order of contacts. And then I got this contact lens case that looks nothing like any of the other ones that I have. I'm like, oh, good. Now you've been recruited. So what happens, say if I'm done painting now, I can just close this up and that liquid will still be there instead of it drying out and evaporating between days. So, yeah. So whoever had that suggestion, that was a good suggestion. I'm sure some of your other suggestions won't be as good, but hey, here's one of your winners. You can tell your wife you had one good idea. Hey, it works. That's the UK response. Cheers. Okay, I'll drink to that. People divided by a common language. Ian, are you up in Scotland as well? I couldn't remember. I'm thinking you are. And then once we're done with this guy, we can move on to the big dude himself. You're a Scot, but you live in England. Okay. Shh, don't let him find out. I'm sure they know as soon as you open your mouth, right? One of these days we'll get a chance to go over there maybe. Spent about a week in Tennessee and we're fascinated by mountains because, we live in a flat swamp. And I'm sure Scotland's the same way. It's just beautiful, exotic country. Okay, let's add some more white on here. That's human nature. You just get used to whatever it is that you have, and you're like, whatever. And then when you see something totally different, you're in awe. But as soon as you start seeing that every day, you're just like, As I like to say, that's how we were able to survive the Ice Age. We adapted. Adaptation. You have a small TV. You end up buying a very large TV. For the first week, you're like, wow. Then after a while, you're like, just human nature. Was wondering how you were able to see up close like that when I cannot even watch the screen without glasses. So I never had a problem seeing up close. I'm naturally nearsighted. About 4 years ago, I think when I turned 45, that's when everything started going south, and I started getting what I like to call old man vision. Can't see things up close. It started being I couldn't focus on things, but I'd always painted in 20/20 vision. I'd put my contacts in, I would just paint. It wasn't a big deal. Till 4 years ago. And then I'm like, so then I got a pair of, to go to the Walgreens drugstore, pair of reading glasses. These, I got the strongest ones that are available. They're plus 325, and this is what I would paint with. I did that for about a year, and then I realized, this is the punchline of the joke, I realized that my whole life, I did not have bad vision. It was focused improperly. So I have a built-in plus 6.5 nearsightedness loop all the time. I just have to put in contacts to dumb that down so I could see normally. And it never really dawned on me that that was the case. But as somebody who has nearsighted, it's really weird to have to not be able to see things up close. So it was very shocking. So now I just paint without contacts in. So I'm painting in plus 6.5. I don't know that I'm painting better. I'm enjoying the castings and the details that the sculptors are putting on their figures a hell of a lot more. I don't know that I'm painting them any better because I could see all those details before. I'm just able to enjoy the intricacies of it more. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, I'm just painting without contacts in. So that's why I've got to be like, okay, what I always like to say, let me take my glasses off so I can see, because my glasses are the old, 20/20 vision, so I can't see up close. Or, I can see, it's just out of focus completely. I've got to move away from it to see it better, which is really weird for somebody who's been nearsighted their whole life. So that might be a little bit more obvious to some of you, but I never really put any thought into it since, I've been wearing glasses since I was about 7. So, yeah, it was kind of cool. I don't have bad vision. Well, I do now, as of 4 years ago, but before that, it's just focused improperly. I wasn't specialized for normal use. I should have been a jeweler this whole time. Military posting. You love it. Just bring good footwear and a raincoat. Yes, and food. I'll bring MREs. I'll be honest with you, I'm scared of Scottish food. I'm terrified. That's the first thing you do when you miss when you travel abroad, is I miss the food because and I like to eat all kinds of different stuff, but there's certain way that animals are prepared in other country that I don't particularly want to eat them, or animal parts. Let's put it that. If it's just vegetables, whatever, bring it on. I ain't scared of no vegetables, but I ain't scared of no vegetables. Way to make the U.S. look good. There you go. It's things you say that you wouldn't necessarily write down. Come to New Zealand, swim in the morning, ski in the afternoon, and of course play with toy soldiers. Yeah, New Zealand's kind of the Scotland of Australia. I think I heard somebody say that because you guys are like hilly and I don't know. I can't deal with the earthquakes, man. Earthquakes are a deal breaker. And I guess maybe it depends. Is all of New Zealand earthquakey? I can't. Toy soldiers and earthquakes just don't mix. But yeah, beautiful country. Did I see a movie that took place in New Zealand recently that showed off the countryside? Maybe I did. I don't remember. I'm working on data from UKMO, east coast of Scotland. Has snow and ice warnings for the last 3 days. West coast Glasgow is really wet. East coast Aberdeen is just really cold. I like wet and cold. I don't like rainy, but I like humidity. That's what I'm used to. So it got down into 40 last night. It was really cold last night because it was very, very wet. And other days were in the 20s, and I was like, whatever. It wasn't that big a deal. So yeah, humidity has a big factor to do with it. I love seeing snow though, as long as I don't have to shovel it. It's like I said, exotic, beautiful, beautiful and clean. I know. Until it's been sitting there for a while and it starts melting. Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, I don't travel during those times. Even rutabagas. That's just a Yankee turnip. That's just an ugly name, rutabaga. This sounds unappealing. Honestly, rutabaga sounds like something you'd make in the toilet after eating too many turnips. I had too many turnips last night, so I made a rutabaga. Okay, let's take a look at this guy. See what we got so far. Oh, we need to bring his flagstaff up a little bit more. That's not working. How about this? I know that I'm going to put a symbol on his cassock. It looks a lot better after they're sealed too. Oh, what did we drop on the floor? Okay. Snow in Aberdeen gone now. Just above 3 Celsius. Okay. I guess I probably should have painted the Scots Islanders figures after all. As much as I enjoyed my Irish, maybe I'll go back and do them. You know, the blades I can have as allies. I got the figures for them. Man, I love those Irish. I just have a feeling that that's the same way as the Scots are going to be too. I do them, so I just don't want to say that I'm doing A, and then when it comes time to being done with these guys, I need to go in a different direction. So I don't want to cock tease you guys. It's not my style. Not my style. I get too many of those in a work day, so I don't want to pass that kind of love on. And I'm not going to do Scott's Common because Mitch already has them. Otherwise, they would be a definite candidate for that. Well, we're going to add socks on this horse because he's kind of missing something. There's just something missing about this guy. Let me go a little brighter in that. Welsh. Welsh is another candidate too. I would have done picks, but Mitch already has picks. Not necessarily that I won't do an army, someone already does, but it's kind of an incentive. Like, you know, why build that army if I already have someone in my local playing group that has the same one? Well, you could diversify unless it's something I just gotta have, but paint some Napoleonics. Okay. Get you some. We're supposed to play some Napoleonics this week. We'll see if that comes to fruition. If we do, we'll film that. Seem like quite a few people like DBN. I can be honest with you. If I was a Napoleonics guy, I wouldn't like DBN. DBN doesn't have enough Napoleonic detail for me if that was my period. Now, Napoleonics isn't really my period, and it just gives me just enough detail to get by. But maybe that's why I can handle DBA. DBA doesn't have a lot of detail, but I'm not an ancients medieval guy. I know it's strange to say that, but I'm really not. I paint this stuff and I enjoy playing it, but I can deal with it not having a ton of detail. And and I don't feel unsatisfied. But if it was World War II, there's no way I'd put up with that crap. I need all kinds of rivet counting detail for me to enjoy it. Okay, let's go back to here. Just bring this up a little bit. We don't want to get crazy. I don't think the banner has a ton of white in it. If it was a very white banner, there's no way I would make this flagstaff in this color, because it would just get lost. Now, this whole time, I could have been doing something and I forgot to step in it. Oh well, it's no big deal. And that is, let's grab our normal. Give a little bit more shading to his metal parts. Let's close this up. I don't think we're using this anytime soon. All right, let's put some over. This chainmail, darken this up a little bit. I'm not a big fan of washes, but this is a wash. Works pretty well. It doesn't recede very much, if at all, honestly. It just had a lid I could take off. There is no perfect paint bottle. Everyone has issues of one sort or another. All right. We're still going to add some on his helmet, even though we're going to come back in and we're going to brighten that up. If there's one step I do that I could skimp on, this would be the one. Adding this Nuln Oil isn't very necessary. It's just kind of nice that it adds a little bit of extra depth on these metallic parts. Because right now, with the way the metallics are, this, what do they call this thing? What's this orc named paint? that I'm using as the base color of the metal. It's the one I transferred over. Where did it go? Here it is. Lead Belcher. Yeah, Lead Belcher this is the darkest I can go. So if I add some of this wash to it, it becomes a little darker. So it's a way to get an extra layer there of depth. So we're going to let this guy dry up a little bit, and then we can come in and tinker with that. So, all right, big man. Can we avoid the irony of him being on a white horse? Not the irony, the generalization. You play Napoleon, you general the brigade, 6 of us hire a hall for the day. Yeah. Don't know that rule set. But then I'm not really a Napoleonics player, so I'm going to guess it's probably a brigade-based game with that name. All right. Oh, let's boot up the computer. And let's find us a picture of Matthias, Hunyadi, or Corvinus, as they like to say. Matthias Hunyadi. Google image search to the rescue. There's one of them here on a horse I thought was in color. Yeah, we'll do one on a white horse, of course. Why not, right? All right. All right. We bring this guy all the way up and yeah, I'm good enough to leave him there for right now. Okay. All right. Let's do a white horse. We have white here. Let's put a little bit more down. But let's mix it in with some dark brown. Let's not make it as grayish. Begins lots of detail, battalion level. Command level is brigade. Okay. Oh. Oh. Where's my dark brown? Bring out the SS. SS camouflage black, which is really dark brown. Don't need very much of that. Oh, this is the unused side. What that is some contamination in my stuff. Okay. The horse, of course. Just a little bit of black up here. Now, this is a museum miniatures figure that I replaced the head on. He has an Essex head on him. It's the first time I've ever done that. We'll see if I'll do it again. I wish the figure had a little bit more of a mullet. That's pictures I've seen of Matthias Hunyadi seem to have more of a mullet. It should be okay. Some of these older Essex figures have they have nice faces to paint. They paint up really nice. All right. Ooh. I could paint on a black horse. All right, hold on a second. Let's see what we got here. I thought I had a. I do. I have a. Let me go to Pinterest. I believe I've created a Pinterest for these guys. And let's go to my page and let's see what I have here. I thought I had a category for this. Man, the internet is slow here. Okay. Oh, you know what? Let's go. Let's go to Amazon. And I think they made a Hungarian book here on his army, and they were nice enough to put all the pictures of them already on here. Maybe they didn't. Sorry for the sidetrack, folks. Let's see here. Here it is. The Army of King Matthias. Show me all 9 images. See, there's an image of him in particular. And this that we're looking at is this is just inspiration. Consider all the options that you have before you make a decision. Is that him right there? Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to go all out like that. But does show him on a white horse. Man, I got half a mind to. Here's some shields for some of those nobles. I'm going to put him on a black horse. Because his army is the Black Army. So that's my tie-in. That's my that's an executive decision. I'm going to put him on a black horse. So forget what I just said. So we're going to go with, make sure there's black all over this, and then we're going to lighten up using that same dark brown. So a black horse is not completely black. It's just very, going to have different shades of different things in there. That's how I make decisions. Consider all the facts and go with your gut. Hey, if I don't like how it looks, I'll repaint his horse white. Just don't want it. I don't want an army with every single leader in every army is on the white horse. It's like boring. All right, now let's get some black over here. Just lighten it up. Let's add a little bit of brown to it. To add it more than I would normally want to, just so it shows up. And if it ends up being a very dark brown horse, that's okay too. Man, I'm hungry. It's almost time for my second breakfast. It's a rather large horse, almost like a 20 millimeter scale horse. Damn near. All right. Let's get the top of them here. And lighten this up a little bit. This would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This would be the 10th stand. And like I mentioned in other videos, this army is probably gonna have 15 or so stands, 15, 16 stands instead of the 12. So I'm gonna do a couple extra ones for being able to play them in different ways. I'm gonna go against my better judgment. I'm going to add a little bit of white and see if we can get away with this. Add some minor highlighting in a few places and thin it down a little bit. Yeah, we can get away with that. Ever so slightly. All right, let's go ahead and paint the metal on them. Let's get that over with. Well, is this guy done with his metal? Let's come back to him. I want to finish this guy. Did this die? I think so. Okay. Well, it's exceeded its half-life anyway, so. stuff goes a long way. Now, one of the things I noticed when I was painting this guy's chin, there's a little bit of overpaint on the very rim of this, so we'll fix that. All right. All right, and we're going to go up a level, and going up a level is called Iron Breaker. Whew. It's gonna be a day where it's gray all day long. Ugh. Yuck. That's not Florida. Okay. There we go. Now, this allows me to paint metal kind of in the same style that I'm doing the other colors. Except that to get that darkest shade, I need to take the lead belcher and put some null on there to go deeper. And then I just bring it up from there. Didn't always used to do that, just been experimenting. Not really a necessary step, but you can tell it under this light in my vision, probably not on video. And then we're going to get some mithril silver and go up even a little bit more. Not all over, but like on his helmet and stuff like that. We're going to leave the chainmail the way it is. I like it. It's a little dark there. It's kind of nice. Okay. Where's my mithril silver? My aged mithril silver. Because this is old school right here. Finally finished work, so off to bed. Thanks for keeping me entertained with late night pity chat. You're most welcome. Thank you for being here and keeping me entertained. On track. Old school right here. Mithril silver. open this up, and as I like to say, is still got about a third of it in there. Use this very sparingly. Usually use it for swords only and stuff like that. I'm going to put some on the top of his helmet, make him really pop. On the back of that right there. Just a little bit on the details of this horse. Figure he's proud of it. Let's keep him all shiny. That's it. All right, put this away. I have a few of these old Citadel colors. Wish I'd known exactly what year this is. 88, 89, 90, something like that. It's definitely at least 1990, if not earlier. So, okay. Oh, we got to do hooves on this, even though they're very minimalistic. Stone gray. This is how these have taken over my workspace. No big deal. Let's see where my pin vise is. That's it. That's all it takes. Here we go. Stone gray, man, far out. Put some of these colors away. This is getting out of hand. This is my workspace over here. Got the colors going. I'm not a neat freak. I just don't like being distracted. I like to stay on task. Feels good to get things done. Otherwise, you can just stay in bed. That is a waste of time. Okay. All right. This guy completely done. Oh, the hooves. The hooves. The hoovage. Okay. Oh, the tail. Okay. He'll look better once he's sealed. He'll pop a little more. Okay. Back to the big man. Looking forward to basing some figures and not being a 7-step program. That basing half of it and then having come back to do the other basing really was kind of unfortunate, but really it was having so many days really in a row where I couldn't paint really was the bigger issue. So okay, I'm gonna take a little bathroom break. I'll be right back in a matter of minutes. And you get a little card. I'll be right back. We'll how about we'll do this? I'll be right back. Oh, you can't even see that. My little coaster set I picked up from going to Jack Daniels' place. Be right back, folks. Okay, we're back. We're back and we can turn up the volume since the clan's up. What did I miss? Nothing. Okay, perfect. All right. Back to the big man. Yeah, so for you guys just following along here, where I put my little white thingy. Get this guy. Let me get this guy. This guy's on the command stand. Now, I'm not sure what we're going to do with the lance on this guy. I may leave it as is. I may end up going in a different direction, but I probably won't know until everything's all together. So I just don't want it to be super fancy looking lance, and then it really draws too much attention to him. So I focus on a command stand, in my opinion, should always be the commander and then the flag. All right, so we've got some little frills and stuff on there, a little triangular type things on there. All right, that's got a good focus point. And we've got also the cloth that he's riding on, which we're bound to do red. So let's go ahead and get the metal on him. Okay. Kind of gets a starting point or how things should look. So I know that's going to be metallic, so you might as well go ahead and get that done. You know, even though I'm going to put Nolan oil on here, I don't want to just slop this paint everywhere. There's no point in going into the crevices between the sections of the actual armor. I'm not going to want that to be the metallic color anyways. I want to keep that black, so there's no point in painting things that I don't want in that way in the final finish. So pretty cool to get this guy to this stand done today. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's pretty promising. Woo. Holy Velma, Batman, I can't see down there without my glasses. Oh, man. I could count on two hands over 35 years how many times I've dropped a brush. It doesn't happen very often. I couldn't find it down there. It's always unscripted. You guys know that. I may actually color the pauldrons a different color, but we're going to paint them this metal color for now. Let's say one on a horse. If you're painting like horse armor or something like that, you may end up like putting some enameling or something on the horse. Just go ahead and paint the horse armor, just the armor color. You can always go back and do the enameling over that, and you're basically doing it like it would happen on the real horse. You know, it was metal first, and then they added something to it afterwards. So sometimes it helps to kind of flush things out before we make decisions on how something's going to look next to it. That's why, if you get into a stumbling spot on you don't know what color you want to paint something, just go and paint something else that you do know what color it's going to be and keep moving forward. You're going to have to paint it anyways. So doing kind of a wet, dry brush on this, guys. Be able to get some of this stuff a little quicker. This guy's got like an armored neck piece. Get that painted, and then we'll switch and flush his face out. I think he's light brown haired. That's what we're going to go with. Okay, that's good enough for getting him flushed out so far. And my hands are cold. That's unusual. My hands are never cold. I like being cold. Makes you move faster and get things accomplished. Okay. Let's go ahead and do the red. Let's do this darker red. And go ahead and do the cloth. That's not going to change no matter what. I don't think I get talked into doing a different color. It's not red for the... Could I? I could also do green. Let's think about this. I can't be talked out of it as I talk myself out of it. Little flags, we're going to do red and white. I think I just talked myself out of it. Oh, I killed me. Let's grab an old friend. I believe this is it. Is it all the way in the back? Oh boy. It's not even in that cubby. Son of a biscuit. All right, let's go to this cubby. No, it's not in that one either. Okay, where'd you go? No? No? Nope. Here it is, it fell over. Dark Angels Green. And since we're showing off our Citadel paints, we're going to lighten it up with that color. Whatever the hell this is called. Scorpion Green. Ooh, although this one seems like it's probably really watery. Kicking it old school. Kicking it old school. Check out how these... I know this one's okay. Let's check out what condition this one's in. This one still even has the tab on it. Oh yeah, it's seen better days. Let's see if we can get any of this out. Not really. Nope. Is this worth salvaging? I guess I could pop this off and use it for something else. Man, it was loud. See ya. We'll lighten it up with this one. You guys still awake? I put you guys to sleep. Oh well. So be it. I think this color's in good shape. We'll find out soon. Oh yeah. This dark green color, I used it quite a bit way back in the good old days as the base color on the neck color. Is it felt? That's on like the Wehrmacht troops. This is a nice color. Doesn't look like it mixed right though. All right, I'll show you. Where's my glasses? There are. I gotta find my balls. Army Painter mixing balls. Now let's see what we get. Yeah, this was one of my go-to colors. I painted all my Wehrmacht neck and the shoulder boards and that stuff in this dark green. I know they used this dark green like early, like in 1940 and stuff like that, but I kind of did that on all my troops. It gives them a pop of color, you know, when your whole figure's in field gray. It's nice to have a little bit of a artistic license. There we go. Yeah, these. Sometimes you buy something and you wonder, did I just piss away $6? And in the case of this mixing balls, that was not the case. I may need a little bit more than that. I'm kind of doing a large area. That should be good enough. All right, we're going to paint. And the reason I picked green is that's one of the colors in the Hungarian flag. So just kind of a little tie-in. Like I said, it's your own personal take on something. Artistic license. And that guy's got a loud vehicle. Don't live on a busy street, but there is a cross street that's on the other side of the retention pond in our backyard, and vehicles that are loud and proud sometimes get their fair share of being heard. Well, let's add a little bit more core color here. I don't remember the last time I did any painting that it wasn't filmed. It's kind of scary. But it also means that I haven't sat down to paint and painted for less than an hour. So that's good. I'm not going to film something and then have less than an hour to paint on it. So by the time you get in the groove, it's time to call it quits. All right, let's see if we can get this color to just tiny little bit to highlight it. I don't want to go to white just yet. I want to add a little bit more vibrancy to it. Before I get to that. There we go. And let's do just a little more. You guys have been pretty quiet for a while. Now, if nothing else, I just lulled you guys to sleep, so you're welcome. There we go. Just painting. There you go. Perfect. I like painting green. Green's a fun color to paint. So's red, but you end up painting a lot of red anyways. Green, you don't get much of a choice to paint it. This is kind of a 95th Rifles type green color. I didn't think I know that. Actually, I started watching that series many, many years ago. And I want to say I made it through about like 6 or 7 episodes. It just kind of, Napoleonics really isn't my period. There was no one really in town that was playing Napoleonics, and although Mitch has a ton of Napoleonics, had I learned, had he been in town at the time, then yeah, I probably would have gotten into Napoleonics. But whoop, let's not drop him there. It's doesn't really do it justice. It looks like crap on the video, but anyhow, we're done moving with that. We're gonna go on to something else. So we're gonna go on to some other thing here. Telling you backgrounds, I splash of paint on. Okay, good. I actually thought I was going to do that yesterday instead of watching that movie. I was actually going to listen to a couple of my guys that do game reviews that I like having in the background. So, Sharps equal cracking read. I wonder if it's available on Audible. It's dangerous. I don't know if I want to get into Napoleonic books because the next thing you know, I'll be painting Napoleonics, and Mitch has all the stuff that he needs. I think he's just got about everything for Napoleon's battles. And Joel, who is Joel Klepling, is Mitch's friend from up north from Illinois. He's getting ready to retire, and he came by the other day. He was looking to buy a house nearby, within 40 miles, something like that, 40, 50 miles away. And what he's been painting is DVN, and he's got just about all the nations for DVN as well. So I'll be able to play that and not have to paint any of it, which is kind of a bummer because I'm more of a painter than I am a gamer. In other words, I can game and other things and not paint. So I'm always looking for opportunities to paint. But yeah. So we should have some more DVN games coming up soon. So if you're into that, there'll be more of that kind of stuff on there. But wish we had filmed our games to. We don't want to disturb your painting. The quality of the paint job on the general determines the character of the army. Well, it does, but it does not determine the performance of the army, because I've got some good-looking armies that just they can't fight their way out of a paper bag. Turks, but I love my Turks. They, I love my Turks. But yeah, they don't do great. Let's paint. Speaking of character of the army, let's paint the guy's face. Let's give this guy a facial. Yeah, I've got nothing against the Napoleonic period. I didn't. So when I first started gaming, we gamed at a hobby store, and they were playing. This is 86, probably 1986. Pretty much all they would play is Johnny Reb, which is American Civil War regiment scale, I think. And I do not like American Civil War. It's kind of freaking boring. as I've mentioned before, I don't like to play Americans. I'm already American, and we're not that exciting. Okay, so from a military history standpoint, but stuff dried up on me. We'll have to bring out the usual suspects again. But that's pretty much all they played, so I never really got into it. And then they did start doing Napoleonics, but they started doing them in 6 millimeter. We used to call them ants. But when I was a young lad, the older group, let's just say they didn't have as much fun playing as we do playing with our group now. Okay, so I never really got into Napoleonics. Now I did have Napoleon's battles, and I did have some Prussians I was starting to paint, but I never finished a unit. So it's difficult for me to get excited about painting something when there's zero prospect of me using them. I used to be a modeler way back when, and the days of building something to not use it are I'm never going to go back to that time. So, but never really got into Napoleonics. And the problem I can see with Napoleonics for me, since we're looking for problems, I guess, the problem I could see is that, what's this? Do you like the more flamboyant armies then? No. So the thing about Napoleonics is that the right people weren't playing it, so I never got into it. And from someone who's not a Napoleonics player, and it seems to me that a lot of it is the same. It's the same but different. Like a lot of and I know that that's kind of an overgeneralization, but most of the armies, depending, obviously depends on the period, but they have shakos, and it's just the shakos and the uniforms and the lapels and stuff are just kind of different colors, but it's kind of painting a lot of the same thing. Now, I could probably do that now because there's a lot of information on like different units and the facings and stuff like that, and I can get into that because I like learning about the period through those type of methods. But the right people just weren't playing it at the time, you know. And but I did have some Prussian figures, but I never did anything with them. I think I had bought some. I think I had some artillery, a pack of artillery, and a couple packs of infantry. But now the problem I would have with Napoleonics now is the painter part of me wants to paint a game scale where I could do all of like the different. So, like for instance, what is it? The regiments, right? It's Napoleonic regiments that have different facings and stuff. I think that's right. So, if you're playing something that is a scale larger than a regiment, so like if where your basic unit is, say, a division or something like that, I would have to end up painting the division as regiments just so I could have some uniformity in it, because I think a regiment is too small a scale for, like, I wouldn't want to play a Napoleonic game where you've got thousands of figures on there because you just never get it accomplished. And that's the big dilemma I would have. Like if I'm gonna paint Napoleonics, I want to paint regiments so I could paint different units differently. But I don't know if that would do it. I actually entertained the idea of doing something like 7 Years War or something like that. And then I was brainstorming with Mitch, and he convinced me that basically it would turn into um, lining two groups up, shooting till there's a breach, funnel guys through the breach to encircle, and that's how every battle is. And when I realized, I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, well, we're done with that. That battle was fun. So I think that what the interest in doing these ancients and medieval stuff is that there's different types of troop types. It's not like everybody's armed with a musket. And yes, even though there's different type of muskets, a different type of units and stuff like that, it's still all kind of the same type of thing. It's like if all I did was 100 Years War, armies. It would get kind of old. But that's just me. It's just, the reason for me to do Napoleonics would be so it would force me to like read about the units and stuff like that. I could get into that. I could get into that stuff. But we did play, and I wish I'd filmed it. We did play a Axis and Allies type game. It's more involved than Axis and Allies, but it's called Napoleon in Europe. It was made by Eagle Games. It came out maybe around 2000, something like that. I had a copy of the game. Mitch also had a copy of the game, which was kind of unusual. I bought it because I thought it was a really beautiful looking game, and it is. But I am not good at learning how to play a set of rules before actually playing them. In other words, reading the rules and figuring out from there. I've passed the point where I would find that enjoyable. So I never did anything with mine, and I sold mine. And then Mitch came into town, and we gave the rules to Scott, who learned how to play them, and we probably played 4 or 5 games of it. And we played one of the first scenarios, and I played the Austrians, and that's where my love for the Austrians came. They just whooped ass. They just whooped total ass. I rolled my way big time. I remember playing one scenario, and I got backstabbed by the Prussians and the Russians and everybody, and I kicked everybody back. So that was pretty cool. It's like every time they attacked me, I kept getting stronger. I'd pull event cards, and I'd get new leaders and stuff like that. So that was kind of fun for me. So if I was going to paint Napoleonics, I'd start with the Austrians. And they look cool in those little German helmets that they have, right? That German, is it just the German infantry? I think that has those little, almost like little helmets. They look cool. But see what I miss. Napoleonics is always an issue between tactical scale regiments and operational scale full battles. Has always an issue. Okay. Rules cover either op stuff and lose feel. Yeah, I can see that. I totally see that. And that same thing would happen with World War II. Or tactical, and you need 1,000 figures to fight a battle in a lot of time. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I've heard the stories of Empire, right? People that played Empire, it was super finicky and they wouldn't get anything done. I suspect that if you really like Napoleonics, though, you don't mind it having thousands of figures because that's your period. That's the same way I feel about World War II. If I'm gonna do World War II gaming, it's just gonna be super anal retentive, and I won't get anything accomplished. But I'll have a good time doing it because just playing something like Flames of War or something like that would just be, something I just can't get into. You know, if I'm playing World War II, I'm and I'm using vehicles. I want a Panzer IV H to be different than a J because the J has the non-electrical turret mechanism turning thing. That's how anal retentive I get into that. Or I'm just not going to play the period, which is what I'm doing now. So, but that's okay. That's all we used to do is game World War II. So, no big deal. It got difficult to find things to read about that I found interesting because it was just, I'm really interested in reading the skirmish type stuff, and there's a limited amount of that out there. So that's okay. It was really fun to paint different colors. Those drab type things were just got kind of old. So you love Age of Eagle rules. You love Age of Eagle rules seem to work. Yeah. So we'll be doing some more Napoleonic gaming. Joel's got all the armies painted up for that. It's DBN. I can see that if I was a Napoleonics player, DBN would not scratch the itch. But bad thing about DBN is it has a lot of the isms from DBA 2.2 that just like the cavalry just don't move very far, and it just don't feel like they're mounted. But I mentioned that to him, and he's thinking about maybe doing some house rules for that. It's not to necessarily get everybody to play DBN proper, but we're just showing you guys we're having a good time playing this game. But I have no interest in reading the rules, learning how to play. He's gonna be like game mastering it, and I'll ask questions. Going through another Barkeries type rule set is just not something I'm gonna do anymore. I'm good with the one Barker rule. I'm good with DBA. That's it. So at this point, it's like I don't want to give up anything and all the effort that I've gone and put into it. So we'll keep going with it. But I'm just burned out trying to figure out what the syntax of a sentence is. It's really not so much that it's finding out where the rule is because, things are only repeated once. Things are only said once, not and repeated nonce. So it's just a whole lot of effort to do that. It seems like it'd be easier to put rules in areas that would be pertinent to where it was happening, but we've struggled this long with it. We're going to keep it going. So Empire is too complicated, but got the flavor of the scale of battles. I did dip my toe in ancient empires, but thankfully DBA DBM came and rescued my sanity. Age of Eagles works well, as it's based on one of my favorite rules, Fire and Fury. I played Fire and Fury a couple times and did not like it, but why? Because it's American Civil War. It's not really my period, so that has opposing roles. If it has opposing roles, that's you got to have a like. I don't know if I play a game anymore. It doesn't have opposing roles. That just keeps people involved in it instead of like, oh, okay, it's the French turn. Well, I'm gonna go grab coffee. You let me know in 20 minutes when it's my turn again. It keeps people with a vested interest in there all the time. So that's what makes a game interesting is that you're involved in it, and that you have multiple different ways to skin a cat. It's not like, well, the only thing I can do is move forward and shoot now. There's lots of different ways to approach whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. It makes the game a lot more interesting. But they're going to be the rules people, so I'll just play whatever they decide to do on Napoleonics. But see if we can bring this guy up. I don't want him looking a little too Alice Cooperish. But the secret here is that this is a fine freaking casting. A sculptor did an excellent job with this fellow. Let's see what kind of a character this guy can give the rest of his army. How about that? All right, see if we can get a shot in this guy. This guy's looking kind of Machiavellian a little bit. Let's see what you guys think. I'm just doing paint by numbers. The sculptor gets all the credit here. God, does that even show up at all? Let's see. I don't know. Looks like crap on the video. It's always the case. I think it's just a little minor movement really can throw everything off. All right, what do we say? This guy had light brown hair. Gene with light brown hair. Let's see. Where is he? Where is this dude? Yeah, I know exactly what color I'm going to use. Let's go grab Coat d'Arms. This color right here. British khaki. And playing Command Colors Napoleonics with figures using Hexon tiles. Had started playing DBN just before the pandemic. We'll try them again. We're allowed to go out again. It'll show up better on the photo as usual. It will. Yeah, it will show up better on the photo. It will. But I'm on the right track with him. So Mitch has all those Command and Colors Napoleonics games. I think the Command and Colors games are a lot of fun because they allow you to not do everything you want to do. However, I don't think they're really good for period feel. No, I haven't played the Napoleonic one. I've played the World War II one, I've played the Civil War one, and I've played the Ancient one some. And they're great games, but I just don't think they have good period feel. I don't know. I think maybe DBA doesn't have good period feel also. I don't know. But it's just an observation. They're still fun games. So, yeah, Mitch has all those Napoleonic. Mitch has so many games we're just never going to play because we're busy playing this stuff, which is fine because, you know, if anything, we need more examples of play for this than Command and Colors games. So, a really good Napoleonics game. If you guys haven't played it yet, highly recommend it. I think I bought this up last week or a couple weeks ago. Is this game? It's the hardest game ever to spell. Maneuver, because it's the French spelling, I think. That's not the Anglo spelling for sure. So, yeah, like GMT. This is an excellent game. A very pretty game. So, and it's also very expensive. For some reason, it's a reprint, but it has little random boards you can set up, and it's DBA-ish or whatever, but it's card driven, and we enjoyed it a lot. I'm not particularly good at it. That doesn't mean I don't have a good time playing it. It involves some long-range planning sometimes, and that's just not my favorite thing to do. I like to go with the flow a little bit more than that, but that's an excellent game. I don't mind board games as long as they look pretty or give you period look or something like that. So, okay. Maneuver, the most difficult to spell game. I know how to spell maneuver, but not like that. Actually, that game was taught to me by someone who's not a, I would say they're not a historical wargamer, definitely, and fell in love with it the first time I played it. I guess they're moving all the furniture in the room out in the living room. All right, let's see if we can get some. What did I do? Put that color away? Jeez, I can't keep my. That wasn't going to be enough. Come on, take some of this. Put it out there. There we go. All right, now we can close this guy up. All right, now we can close him up. Yeah, I don't mind board games as long as they look good. Even if they're fun to play, that's a deal breaker. And they got to look good too. They got to look appealing. They can be blocks or something like that, but it's still got to be, appealing. Like you won't catch me dead playing something like Catan. That's just horrible to look at. I don't care how popular it is. I'm not spending time looking at that board. It's one of Mitch's favorite games is Junta, and he has the old version, which is just horrendously ugly to look at, and I can't play that. I can't play that. Try to, and it takes too long. It's too long a game for. It's difficult to find that many people also to make that doable. I think you just use white on this to bring this guy up. I don't think we need to bring in any blonde tones. I think we should be okay with that. All right. Show what I got here so far. Still not great on video, but all right. Let's get to the red and the white little flag thingies that are on this horse here. Let's bring some more color in here. And then we're going to go over the edges here with the white. And you guys using Humbrol enamels? I know those were the big deal way back in the day. I ended up buying, I ended up using them. When I was doing World War II, I have a Sherman Firefly that I painted up, and I wanted that correct color, that bronze, that I believe it's called olive bronze, and supposedly the Humbrol one was really accurate. So I bought a tin of that. I think it went bad, but I used that for that. But some people used to swear by those Humbrol colors. I just don't want to. I don't want to paint with thinner. I don't want to do this painting with thinner. I guess if I'm doing washes or something like that, it's okay. But this is just too stinky. So that was the big paint in the UK back in the day. Or at least it seemed that way. Probably the biggest issue for me is that enamel paints reactivate. You can reactivate a paint underneath it. Used to back in the day for enamels, they were the first They were the first acrylics I used. Good, but I hated enamels. Okay. Yeah. So I really dislike plastic figures a lot. And one thing I didn't realize is I thought enamels really were for plastic figures because plastic figures are difficult to get these acrylics to stick to them. But the problem is the enamels actually don't flex at all. So I painted some plastic, something plastic. I forget what it is now, but I painted it with enamels, and it cracked. It cracked off. It wouldn't hold. And it said, "Oh yeah, if you're painting plastic figures, you need to use acrylics." And I'm like, "What? Well, you can't win with them then because the acrylics just don't last as long as the enamels." Plastic figures. I mean, like those old Airfix figures, or as we used to call them in the states, the MPC figures, because there was no Airfix never made it into the states in the 1980s, or I never saw them. They did later on, but it used to be all their stuff came through a company called MPC, and they were just rebranded stuff. And some of the first World War II models I ever painted were MPC stuff. Okay, let's see how this is going so far. I'm gonna bring that up a little bit with some more white. I built a lot of those kits. Stuka, like this Stuka. I built a Stuka and a Spitfire. The art that was on some of those kit boxes was always very appealing. And you could buy all that stuff in a toy store. You have to go to a hobby store. You could buy them at the toy store, and the mall would have them. Okay. Let's give this guy the Null and Oil treatment as well. Now use Foundry Viejo. Okay. Yeah, Foundry stuff isn't available here. I can't just walk into a place and get Foundry. Otherwise, I would. I like my favorite of all of them is still Cote d'Armes. But again, I can't walk into a place and get it. So, Cricketer French. Good morning, good afternoon. Problem with Airfix soldiers where they were molded in polypropylene. Nothing sticks to it and it's too flexible. Yeah, yeah. There's some great figures though. I mean, the Eighth Army and the Africa Corps figures were awesome. And what was really cool is if you didn't like them in a 1/72 scale, they'd or whatever they happen to be. I'm not sure if they were 72nd or 76. I think they were 172nd. Yeah, the Matchbox ones were 176. Airfix were 172nd. At least that's what they claim to be. Is they also made the same molds in 32nd scale also. So yeah, a couple of those figure poses are really really cool looking. Really like those guys. The kits were polystyrene, which is rigid and everything sticks to it, but the soldiers would not have been robust enough for kids. Okay. Need to sign off now, Tony. Stay safe till next time. Remind me to tell you about my Spitfire experience when you see me next. Good work, by the way. Excellent. I love Spitfires. Sexy plane. Love Spitfires. Yeah, who doesn't like Spitfires? Everybody likes Spitfires. I had the first model I built. I was really always into like naval, so those old I said they were called MPC kits. They were just the old Airfix kits, rebranded here for in the states with new art and so forth. I had a model of the Bismarck, a 1/600 scale. I didn't have any paints at the time. I was probably 12, 13 at the time, something like that. And the only paints I had were these paints from a paint by number set that somebody gave me for a birthday. You know, they have one of those birthday parties and you get all those paint by number sets that were big in the early 80s, right? And they were oil. And I used it to paint my Bismarck. Of course, I didn't paint the gray. The gray is already molded in gray. You know, I'm a snotling kid. I don't, you know, you see something molded in gray, you're not going to repaint it. So it was just like the deck and stuff like that. So I found a deck type color and I painted the deck to that ship, and I had it in my closet and it took, I think, 4 weeks to dry. It's crazy. But not sure how old it was. Maybe it was like 11 or something like that. Anyways, I wanted to build the kit because I wanted to play with it, you know, not just set it on a shelf and do nothing with it. But I had several of those. I had the Bismarck, Prince Eugen, the Suffolk. What else did I have? Did I have a hood? I don't remember if I had a hood. I must have had, because I had to have something to matched up against the. Did I have a hood? What was the British ship that I had? What was the British capital ship that I had? I don't think they made a Rodney, which is definitely my favorite British battle wagon. Love the Rodney. Oh, it was the Prince of Wales. Prince of Wales is what the one they made. Yeah. I had a Prince of Wales and a Repulse. That's what it is. I had a Repulse. It was a fine looking ship. Graf Spee. Yeah, I had those. Yeah, cool. Good times. But I wanted to play. I wanted to play with them. I didn't want to just build them and put them on the shelf and not do anything with them. That's weird. So as soon as I started wargaming, I realized there was naval wargaming, and that was really my jam. So that's really what I got into. Obviously, we weren't using 600 scale models, but Luftwaffe don't like Spitfires. That's right. Airfix releasing 1/32nd scale figures in harder plastic. Hopefully they will do the same with their smaller guys. Hopefully resizing the 1/32nd, 1/72nd. Some of the, I mean, some of the casting on of this they were done in are just really really nice, really really nice. Like I said, the Africa Corps guys and the Eighth Army guys in particular are really really good. Just the standard German infantry, not so good. What else did I have? I had the U.S. Marines. I never saw the Russians. I know they made Russians, but they never made it, rebranded it MPC. I never saw them anywhere in the States. I had Luftwaffe ground crew, German paratroops, mountain troops. What else? That's all I remember seeing. That's all I remember seeing. And then Eschi released some of their stuff too, and the Eschi ones are really bendy. And the Eschi sculpts I don't like. They're very lanky looking, and they're in weird poses, and they tend to be very necky. Their necks kind of stick out. I always thought that the Airfix sculpting was really really good. I enjoyed that. I mean, I still have some of them floating around somewhere. I've got a box of them, but somewhere. But yeah, they're kind of too bendy to paint. Or the paint would stick to them, and then you bend them once, and well, that was fun. That's over with. Let's give this guy a. Where's like my standard brown because I want to use that for this thing he has in his hand, whatever the hell it's called, is baton. He's the baton twirler. Let's see where it is. I can't find any of my colors anymore. I did too good of a job putting everything away. Story of my life. I like talking about those old kits, man. Brings back good memories. Oh, this is the old chocolate brown. It's all watery and shit. Okay, well, I think we got enough of it out that we could probably work with this. Yeah. Yeah, and I have those 70-second skill ship planes, whatever. Back when they had swastikas in the kits, nobody freaked out about that stuff. I don't know if that's still a thing anymore. I haven't built model kits in a long time, but I remember in the early 90s it started to become an issue. But I don't think it was an issue for any of the British kits. But I'd build them and I'd take string and I'd stick them to the roof. So they'd be flying, whatever. Had a Spitfire Mark 9. I had a standard Spitfire that it was either a 2 or a 3. And then I had a Mark 9, which of course was the pretty one with a late war camo and invasion stripes. It's just a beautiful aircraft. And 109E, a 190, a 190A. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I had a 190A and the D, which is another beautiful aircraft. A Stuka with the gun pods on it. What else did I have? I don't think I had any American aircraft. Unlike most people you'd see in this country, where they would only have American aircraft, probably. Once I had a Russian plane too. I don't remember what it was. Anyhow, yeah, that was the days where you go to a store and buy the kit. So whatever was there was. Yeah. All my German planes had swastikas on them, and I never caused any trouble. That's amazing how that works. We weren't woke yet. Then I remember when I worked at the hobby store in the early 90s, there was a couple of kits. I don't remember what the name of the company was, but it was I had bought a DO 17. I don't know which version of it was. It was an early one. It was the early one that they used in the Spanish Civil War. So it was very sleek looking aircraft. And it had markings you could use for early war. And there was a swastika, but it came in two pieces. So it was actually split. So it wasn't a swastika on the thing, but so you'd have to put it together and you'd be the Nazi, not the company, I guess. But yeah, good times. But we didn't do anything with that stuff. I that was before I really got into wargaming. So this is like 15 and earlier. I didn't start wargaming until I was 15. I just didn't know about it. Otherwise, I would have, you know. So the idea of building something and not doing anything with it is just kind of like, why would I do that now when you can, you know, push it around the tabletop and make vroom vroom noises, you know. Good times. Oh, I did. I have a P4. I did have a P40 with the shark's mouth. I always liked the shark's mouth aircraft. Always cared for that. Always looked cool. What what did I mix this color for? Hell, I don't know. Oh, we're doing his little dagger. The man with a little dagger. Off now, good luck and stay safe. You too. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate you. Warspite. No, it wasn't a Warspite. I know Airfix probably makes a Warspite, but I didn't have a model of her. The first Warspite I ever had was on 1/2400 scale. GHQ. Yeah, I like that ship. That's one badass ship that was everywhere. Windy Corner. Warspite at Windy Corner. MPC made an Iron Duke as well, but I didn't have it since, you know, it's World War One ship. Really wasn't into World War One stuff at that time. Well, if you were, there just weren't any kits for it, so you know. I was always partial to the look of the German World War One ships. I always thought they looked pretty badass, like Sadlitz in particular. But that's really no camouflage, so all that stuff kind of all looks the same. Can't do paint schemes and stuff like that with it. All right, now this guy's we're gonna get crazy. We're gonna do some gold on his, which is I rarely do gold. Rarely do I do gold. And which gold are we gonna do? Because there's several. I got this bright ass gold, as I like to call it. And then we have the not so bright ass gold. Maybe we'll do one and then highlight with the other one. Oh, this is brass. And then what else is there we got here? Old gold. Well, the old gold looks like a lot like the bronze color, so we're just gonna skip over that one. Let's just use this brass, and then we'll highlight with the other one, other color. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to stop here pretty soon. The natives are restless. I hear them. tiniest of amounts of this. This is ridiculous. The secret with painting some of these colors is you've got to leave some of the color underneath it of the other one to make it pop. If you just paint everything in that one color, then it just, it has no depth to it. It has no depth to it. All right, I think that should probably work okay. I don't know what the top of this thing is going to be, but we're going to make it metal. Sounds good. Okay, and let's put some of this. You know what? This guy's a fancy guy. So we're going to skip the step of where we lighten it up with this, and we're just going to go straight up to this color. Okay? If anybody's got a polished piece of armor, it's going to be this guy. So we're just going to use, whatever the hell this is called, Iron Breaker right off the bat. And let's just put it out here, and we'll highlight with Iron Breaker. Put that down. All right. Let's see what we got here. So if anybody's got a highly polished armor, it's going to be this dude. He doesn't even do it himself. How long have we been going? 3 hours and 45 minutes. Well, that explains why I've gotten so much done. Okay. It's almost 11. We will stop at 11 for sure. Yes. I'm coming. How about I come over in 5 minutes? Okay. Yes, in 5 minutes. Yes. Okay. I have been summoned. So in 5 minutes. We got 5 more minutes and 5-minute warning, and you guys are on your own. I don't think I'll be able to finish this guy in 5 minutes, but we should be able to be done with this stage in 5 minutes. So. It's funny. I'm looking at this guy, and I've been painting him, but I haven't really looked at him. I know that sounds weird, but just kind of focused on the details, not the overall thing. Let's finish polishing this guy up. And we will probably do the mithril silver as well. But we're gonna have to start with that next time. I don't want to do that stage and be rushed. All right, let's see what we got here. See where we leave off with these guys. Come on, get in focus. So we still got some stuff to put on his horse, so forth. Clean up his armor. But that's what he looks like, and he's going to be on the stand with this guy here and the flag bearer as well. So anyhow, that's where we're going to stop for the day. And hope you guys enjoy. Keep on painting just because I'm not here. And enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll catch you guys next time. Happy painting. See you later, folks. Bye-bye.